In a high-stakes meeting that drew the world's attention, former US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin sat face-to-face at a military base in Alaska for nearly 3 hours, discussing possible ways to end the war in Ukraine. But despite the lengthy talks, no concrete breakthrough was achieved. After the summit, both leaders made short statements but refused to take questions from the press. Trump simply remarked, "We've made some progress, but a deal is not a deal until it's signed." Behind him stood a banner reading, "Pursuing Peace." Still, the path to real peace appeared distant. Shortly after the summit, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky held a phone call with Trump. Zelensky said Ukraine is ready for constructive cooperation and announced that he will soon visit Washington to coordinate next steps. However, Putin reiterated his long-standing position. The war can only end if what he called the root causes of the conflict are addressed and if Moscow's legitimate security concerns are met. He also stressed that guarantees for Ukraine's security remain essential. Meanwhile, the human cost of this war continues to mount. Analysts describe it as Europe's most devastating conflict in nearly 80 years. More than 10 million people have been directly affected, with hundreds of thousands killed, injured, or displaced. In the past 24 hours alone, Ukrainian forces reported 139 separate clashes. Russia launched waves of drones and missiles targeting Ukrainian cities. Ukraine's air defenses shot down 61 drones, while Russia claimed to have destroyed 29 Ukrainian drones. Despite these interceptions, civilians remain the primary victims. Trump hinted in a television interview that the talks involved discussions about potential land swaps and security guarantees. He said, "I think we're very close to a deal, but the final decision on will be Ukraine's. They may say yes, they may say no, but they will need to make a deal." This raised concerns in Kyiv and European capitals that Trump and Putin might strike an agreement over Ukraine's head. For now, no such deal has emerged, but the very suggestion gave Putin diplomatic leverage. Historians and analysts were quick to point out that the summit gave Putin a symbolic win. After being isolated from Western leaders for years, simply sitting across from a former US president was a form of legitimacy. Cold War historian Sergei Radchenko observed that Putin won this round by gaining recognition without making concessions. Yet he also noted that Trump did not completely abandon Ukraine, which offered some reassurance to Western allies. Trump also floated the idea of a future three-way summit including himself, Putin and Zelensky. But no date or details were provided, and Russian officials downplayed such speculation. Meanwhile, Trump spoke with NATO leaders after returning to Washington. Norway's foreign minister said pressure on Russia must increase, while the Czech defense minister accused Putin of using talks not for peace but for propaganda and to divide the West. On the economic front, Trump said he is holding off on new tariffs against China, which continues to purchase Russian oil. He explained that progress with Putin was a reason to wait, but he warned that decisions on tariffs could come within weeks. India was not mentioned directly, but Washington has already imposed higher tariffs on Indian imports of Russian oil, signaling that the economic angle of this conflict remains fluid. The optics of the Alaska Summit were also striking. Putin received a red carpet welcome, greeted personally by Trump, with US Air Force aircraft in the background. The imagery underscored both power and symbolism, diplomacy mixed with a display of strength. Putin remains under indictment by the International Criminal Court for alleged war crimes, including the forced deportation of Ukrainian children. Russia denies the charges and does not recognize the court, but the issue continues to shadow his international appearances. In closing, Trump thanked Putin and said, "We'll be talking again very soon and maybe even meeting again." Putin responded in English, "Next time in Moscow." Trump joked that such a meeting would draw heavy criticism, but left the door open to the possibility. For Ukraine, however, the outcome remains uncertain. Zelensky had urged that the summit must open the path toward a just peace and insisted that Ukraine be included in any direct talks. Yet for now, there was no ceasefire, no agreement and no timeline. Just another signal to the world that diplomacy is underway, but a true end to the war is still far from reality.